Welcome to part 3 of You as a Trainer, Strengthen Your Skills and Confidence. We're talking now about you, about what you bring to the workshop. Do you have a picture in your mind of what a trainer looks like? How they act, what they do? Well, get rid of it, because a trainer is simply you. You just need to be yourself and gain the skills and use the skills that you have to be your best self as a trainer. You don't need to act like anyone else or try to become anything else. You are enough. And let's talk about what it is that you have enough of in you. Well, let's start with your sense of humor. That always helps in training. Now, if you're like me and you don't tell jokes very well, then don't tell jokes. You don't have to. You can share cartoons. You can tell stories. You can lighten the moment with humorous incidents. And if you can make light comments here and there, do that. But be comfortable with it. Make sure that it's you and that you're not just trying to do what something or someone else does. Humor. Next is your body, specifically your hands and your feet. You know, we talk with both of them in some ways. Our feet, by moving from one place to another, or one side of the room to the other, not so easy to do on Zoom. You're a little restricted there, but when you're in person with the group. And then our hands. Are you someone who talks a lot with their hands? That's okay. I kind of like it. But if it's to a point of being distracting, you'll want to work a little bit on toning that down so you're not a distraction. How about your energy? You want to keep some energy up, especially if you're doing a long workshop, a 6-hour day. It can be a little difficult towards the end, so you need to muster up a little more, even if you're tired. Because if you're tired and that shows, it'll become infectious. Everyone else will get tired too, okay? So your participants will take their cue from you. So work on that energy. How about room awareness? Did you know that was a thing? We're creatures of habit. And we tend to favor one side of the room or another. And I heard about this many years ago, that some people, like I said, you favor one side over another. So I found that I favor the right side. I will tend to look at that side more than the left. Others may favor the left side, the other side. And you need to be aware of that and make sure you're covering the full room with your eye contact and with your body movement, or else you'll lose some of the people. So I had just learned that, and probably the next month I was in a big conference, and they divided us into groups of about 30. Each room of 30 had a facilitator doing a discussion with us. And the facilitator in our room was only looking at the one side. I was sitting over on the other side with another group of people there. She never turned to look at us. She would ask questions. We would raise our hands, but she would never look at us. Pretty soon, we just started rolling our eyes, carrying on a conversation among ourselves. She had lost us. And I realized that's exactly what my trainer had been talking about. You have to cover both sides of the room. So important. And so I have found myself, if I'm not conscious, I will tend to talk to one side and miss the other. And people feel it. They feel like they're not being heard. And I even saw that done on a Zoom presentation. And it was a large group, but the presenter could look at had all of us on their videos. And pretty soon in chat, someone wrote, "Why is he only talking to the left side and not the rest of us?" And someone else said, "Yeah, I noticed that." And someone else, "That's not fair. They should tell him something," and blah, blah, blah. And I realized even on Zoom that can happen. So you do want to be aware of addressing the full side or the full room that you're training in. That kind of hits on the eye contact as well. You know all about this, but it's true. People want to see your eyes. They want to see you looking at them. One of the worst things you can do is be doing slides live in a room and turn your back to the audience to read the slides. I don't know why people do that, but don't do that. How about your voice and your pacing? They're an excellent tool that you have. You can speak louder than normal to get attention, or you can soften your voice to get attention, to emphasize a point. You can speak faster, you can speak slower, you can incite some kind of change in the energy in the room that can be very helpful. So that's at your disposal. And your focus, you want to be intentional. Like I said before, you want to know what is it you're training, what points you want to run home. If you don't, if you're not focused, you can start doing a little bird walking. What's bird walking? Well, I saw my supervising trainer do it when I was first learning. And she had trained for it many, many years, had a lot of stories. And I thought she would start on one topic and then she would tell a story that reminded her of something else. So she would go and tell about that and something else. And pretty soon we were all over the place and even have forgotten what the original point was. Bird walking. So I recognized it earlier, and then I found myself doing it in a situation where I had been training for a long time then. I wasn't as prepared, but I had a lot of stories, and we were running through a workshop. I was training someone else, and I realized we're running about a good half hour behind. How did that happen? As I analyzed it, I realized it was me. I was telling all my stories that I enjoy telling, that are just so fun to tell, but it was at the sacrifice of some content that these new tutors needed. And that's because I had kind of gotten too casual with it, and I hadn't prepared as much, and I got off my outline and my script. So focus is really important. The other thing that's important is your reaction to what goes on in the workshop. So if you are running out of time, don't announce it. Don't say, oh my gosh, we're running out of time, or, well, I'm going to skip that, because that's only going to leave the participants wondering, what is it that they missed? What are they not getting? They're being shorted on something. So your reaction, if something goes wrong, just try to keep your cool. I'll tell you, I liken it to a trip I had with some friends. We were flying in their 6-passenger Cessna to a town about an hour away. And we walked down the dirt road to the hangar in the middle of the cotton field where Joe stored his Cessna. And we got up in the air and we're going along, and it's pretty bouncy. And I looked over at Anne, Joe's wife, and her knuckles were white, holding onto the chair. But I realized, okay, they're always white when we're flying. I can't use her as a gauge. We're bouncing. About that time, Joe turned around and said, or he just smiled. I thought, okay, that's great. The pilot's smiling. Little bit later, he turned around and said, we're going to go back and try it later. So we went back, he landed, put the plane away in the hangar. We walked up to the house, made some coffee, and sat down. And then Joe said, that's the most scared I've ever been. And I thought, oh my gosh, the pilot was scared. Then I thought, how wonderful. He didn't scare us by telling us that something was wrong, that it wasn't the way it was supposed to be going. And I often think of that in a workshop. I recall that. And when something's going wrong, whatever it is going on in the workshop, I don't make a big to-do about it. I try to stay calm, because they don't need to know that I'm flustered and I'm off and we're not doing exactly what I had planned. So that's another thing, is your reactions. Be aware of their effect on the participants. Your stories, talk about storytelling. Again, that's what'll help what you're teaching stick. But remember, like I mentioned, as you go along for a long time, you gather a lot of stories. You've got to be very intentional about which ones to share and which ones to let go for another time. So you have to monitor yourself. And as you're doing the training, look at the participants. It's not just about what you're teaching. It's about what are they learning. Are you aware of how engaged they are? And from that, you can always look at it and think about it afterwards, and you can always make improvements, right? And for now, I want you to make this personal. There's a chart on page 5 in the handouts that lists these skills and these personality traits we've talked about. I'd like for you to make a plan for how you can keep learning and keep growing, what you can do. So it's a chance to make it personal, to reflect. And when you do that, that's not the end. We have one other important piece of information we want you to come back to. So please just pause the video, do that exercise, and then come on back. Let's talk about closing your workshop. Too often that goes unplanned. We just get to the end. How often have you heard it? So, oh, okay, well, we're out of time, so we're going to stop there. See you later. That's not very exciting. And you think about it, you've done a wonderful job. You kept people engaged, delivered enjoyable content. You've encouraged everyone, and now you want to finish strong. That's right. You want to stick the landing. Don't let your workshop just fizzle out. And don't even close it with Q&A. I mean, do a Q&A, but then you come back afterwards and give the final closing comment. That's your opportunity to share the key message one more time, maybe to share one more story that illustrates what you're teaching, or leaves people with an inspiring or encouraging thought. But you want to use that closing for a strong ending. And for that point, let me stop sharing my screen and just tell you that it's a wonderful experience that you have, a wonderful opportunity to train others in something that you know or that you've had experience with. So take advantage of it. You never know what impact it's going to have on their life and on the lives of those around them. And they're waiting, they're calling for you to bring what it is that you have. So do that, embrace it, enjoy it. And thank you for watching this segment.